Hi, I'm Dr. Michele Fiala of Ohio University in Athens, Ohio. Thank you for joining me today for my video on the 2015-2016 West Virginia All-State Etudes. These are listed as being out of the Gekeler Method for Oboe Book 2. It's actually from the Barret 40 Progressive Melodies. Kenneth Gekeler took 36 of those 40 and reordered some of them and turned that into what he called his book 2. So they're listed in the order as Gekeler listed them, number 3 in A minor and number 34 in F sharp minor. Before you start playing these, you would want to warm up in a way that would assist you in getting the very best tone production on these specific etudes. So let's start with an A minor warm up for number 3. We will warm up over a drone, and I happen to have one here on the program Tunable, available online. And we can play important notes within the key. I suggest for A minor the first, fourth, and fifth notes of the scale. So that would be A, D, and E in all octaves on the oboe. You may remember from my oboe lessons that I suggest using some breathing exercises to get you going, like the finger breath, where you use the first knuckle of your index finger of your left hand and use that to create a little resistance as you take a long, low breath. That can help you to get full and relaxed expansion. The second part is to support well as you're blowing into the oboe, which means to engage the same muscles as blowing out candles. If you do that, you'll feel engagement in your lower abdominals and in your lower back. So I'll take a finger breath and I'll engage my support as I demonstrate the first octave of playing with a drone, A, D, and E up to the high A. Make sure that each note is full and resonant before you move on to the next, and increase your support between notes to make the intervals more continuous. Continue this exercise throughout the entire range of your oboe, and then you will be well warmed up to start this etude. And it is a lovely lyrical etude, and we'll go through it phrase by phrase and discuss the phrases. The first phrase has two sub-phrases that look almost identical. And they each have, the first one starts piano, they each have this hairpin. The second one doesn't have a dynamic marking, so you may continue to crescendo a little bit and be a little bit louder and more emphatic in your second statement of that idea. This is followed immediately by a sneaky new idea. So you'll notice in the second line, fourth measure, when you have that sforzando F natural, that I use the left hand F key. So thumb octave 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and your left hand F key instead of the normal F key, because there's a D right before it. If I were to have used forked F, it would have been more out of tune, and it would also be awkward going to the E natural. So hopefully you have a left F key and can use that there. Also, there is that turn or gruppetto at the end of the line, and it has a sharp underneath it. So it means that you start on the main note, you always go to the note above first in any turn, and back to the main note, so that's A, B, A so far. Then when you go down to the bottom note, it's a G sharp, rather than the G natural that's in the key signature. And then you come back to the A natural. This all fits in beat 3 before you play the C natural on beat 4. if you need to break the slur after the G sharp in the beginning of line 3, I think that's acceptable. And then breathe before the G natural, which is a pickup to the next measure. You'll notice in the third line, measure 2, I used my left hand F natural again, and that in the fourth measure of that third line, I did the gruppetto in the second beat of the C natural. So basically in beat 3 of the measure, the gruppetto was C, D, C, B, C. I'll now go on to the next phrase, which looks a little similar to the first phrase, but a little bit more chromatic, meaning a few notes that are not normally in the key of A minor. So it's getting a little more exciting and more intense, and we're going to get these syncopations with accents also. This builds to what is the peak of this entire etude, up to the high C, and at the point where it's been its most exciting. You've had some chromatic notes, some syncopation, and now the high note. And it's appropriate to slow down a little there to prepare the return in the last line of the main theme. And please note carefully that the second measure of the theme, the first line second measure, is very different than the last line third measure, even though they sound like they might be the same. The rhythm previously was a dotted quarter and eighth, and it's now a dotted eighth 16th, twice as fast. Smorzando at the end of the measure means dying away, so slowing down and getting softer. Now let's take a look at number 34 in F sharp minor. This one is a little slower. I suggest doing the same warm-up with the F sharp, B natural, and C sharp, and then going through the range of the oboe, making sure that you're breathing well and supporting and very well in tune with a drone in that key. That will help everything, your intonation and your phrasing, and all of that the judges are looking for. So this one is a slightly mournful sound, and you'll notice that there is a gruppetto already in measure 4. This one will be A, B, A, G sharp, A, and you'll notice a lot of E sharps, which is the same fingering as F natural, so the same mostly normal F, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and a little F key for your E sharp fingering. The difference is, of course, that harmonically speaking, E sharp will lead to the F sharp, which is the key, so we want that important leading tone. I'll play the first phrase. I actually played 2 full phrases for you and paused at a point where you could take a breath if you want. After that E sharp in the second line, third measure, you could take a breath before the E natural. That's a pickup to the next phrase. Did you notice some different fingering things in the first measure of the second line? You will need to use your left hand D sharp because you're coming from C sharp. So from C sharp you go to your left hand D sharp rather than this key. Don't try to slide around here because it will always sound messy to the judges. So go to your left hand D sharp, and then if your left hand D sharp is totally new to you, just go to a forked F for your E sharp, and that will be okay in this context. If you're comfortable, you can actually switch from your left hand D sharp to your right hand D sharp without a disruption, so that you could use your left hand E sharp, or left hand F in other words. That's an advanced technique, so if you're new to left hand D sharp, simply use left hand D sharp and then use forked E sharp in this case. I will now pick up where I left off and play the next phrase. In that last phrase, you have the same thing twice, once starting on a C sharp and the next time starting lower on an A. So I played the first one louder and the second one a little softer. You could do it either way, but because I was descending, I thought I might try it that way. And then in this next phrase, you have a little echo. It starts on this high A going to the E sharp, and you could play that a little louder and then have an echo when it comes back. You could also do it the other way around, but the idea is that every time you have something twice, you should do it a little bit differently. And I pause there because that could be a potential spot to breathe, or you could breathe after the E sharp that follows that. But I wanted to talk about a few fingering things that happen in the fourth line. In the fourth line, you'll notice several times I used my left hand E sharp, also known as the left hand F, when coming from the C sharp, when coming from the D, and when coming from the D sharp. And then you have another place where you go from C sharp to your left hand D sharp. I'll start at the beginning of that measure. At the end of the line, you'll use your left hand D sharp and either the forked E sharp, or if you are comfortable with switching, you can switch on the D sharp to right hand D sharp so that you could use left hand E sharp. And you can use your right hand G sharp key so that the G sharp coming from left hand F is easier. So I hope that these tips will help you in your audition. You will also need to prepare scales up to 4 accidentals and a solo. If you need ideas for your solo piece, please contact me at fialam@ohio.edu. That's FIALAM@ohio.edu. And good luck on your audition. I hope that you can make a lovely musical statement. And remember that the judges are always supporting you behind the screen. They're always hoping for you to do well. So you don't have to be nervous. They're interested in hearing what you have to say as an individual musician. So good luck on your audition, and please let me know how it goes. Again, I'm Dr. Michele Fiala of Ohio University.